Benjamin Franklin, Science and Politics. We're in 1706 and the Spanish War of Succession rages on in Europe, a war between the French Bourbon dynasty and the Austrian Habsburgs to control the Spanish Empire whose colonies extended all over the globe. It is a long and bloody game of thrones that will change the balance of power in Europe. It's the same year that one of the greatest Baroque composers, Johann Pachelbel, dies. He is known for his canon in D major, which became universally popular in the 1970s when it was used in hymn music, film scores, and even pop music. On the 17th of January in Boston, Massachusetts, which was still under British imperial rule at the time, the 15th of 17 children, son to a British soap and candle maker who would become the object of desire for generations to come, Mr. Benjamin Franklin is born. But more importantly, Benjamin became one of the founding fathers to one of the most powerful nations in the history of humanity. A self-taught voracious reader, he had to quit school by the age of 10 to help in the family business. He would work as an apprentice for one of his brothers at a printing press that edited the first independent newspaper of the British American colonies. An America where there was general unrest with the British Crown. And this state of unrest among the colonists made a lasting impression on young Benjamin. It is around this time that his brother's newspaper published mysterious and revolutionary articles by a Mrs. Silence Dogood, middle-aged widow. The articles caused a lot of fervor. Benjamin turned out to be the author, and when his brother found out, he was forced to flee, running away to Philadelphia. He was just 17. In Philadelphia, he easily found a job at a printing press and was soon sent to England to bring back the latest equipment. It would be the first of a series of trips to Europe that changed his life and the destiny of the modern world. Benjamin hated wasting time, so whenever he had a free moment, he filled it with the study of politics, literature, press, philosophy, or music, which led to the invention of very useful things. Like bifocal lenses, which he invented because of the time involved in changing out his glasses every time he wanted to read. Swim fins for hands and feet, which he designed when he was 11 years old to improve his own personal marks in the pool. Or the odometer, which he invented while working at the post office in order to optimize the postal delivery routes. Great lover of music, he even invented an instrument called the glass harmonica, which composers like Mozart and Beethoven later wrote music for. For Franklin, the joy of serving humanity was sufficient payment, and he never patented any of his inventions. But there is one invention which he will always be remembered for, which could have been the inspiration for a creepy, fictitious character that became famous around this time. The invention that came from this was the lightning rod, a byproduct of his investigations into the nature of electricity, which placed him at the heart of the scientific community. Franklin conducted his famous kite experiment in 1750, a very dangerous experiment. He flew a kite with a metal rod up into a lightning storm. On the other end of the string he hung a key, and lo and behold, lightning struck the metal rod, passed through the kite, down the string, and electrified the key, thus proving beyond a shadow of a doubt the electric nature of lightning. Don't try this at home, folks! 3 years after Benjamin Franklin's famous experiment, the German physicist Georg Rickmann was burned to a crisp when he tried to reproduce the results. Oh! Franklin also conducted experiments with light and concluded that light was actually a wave, contradicting Isaac Newton's theory that light was made up of particles. In the 20th century, we would discover that they were both right. Light is indeed a wave, but it is also, and simultaneously so, made up of particles. He published studies on population growth and its connection to food supply. These studies helped Thomas Robert Malthus create his universal theory of population. Franklin also discovered that the Gulf Stream currents across the Atlantic Ocean, usually avoided by sailors, actually help ships cross in less time. And he did all of this while maneuvering politically in Europe to gain recognition by other countries for the independent and United States of America. This is why the Bourbon dynasty in France, under pressure from the Enlightenment and the imminent French Revolution, received him as the first ambassador from the United States of America. For his whole life, forward-thinking ideas would help forge Benjamin Franklin's place in history. Franklin lived in common law marriage with Deborah Reed, his childhood sweetheart. they were unable to officially marry because Deborah's previous husband had run off with her endowment after their marriage and was never heard from again. A convinced abolitionist, he freed the 2 slaves that he owned. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech, which is the right of every man. Benjamin Franklin died in 1790 at the tender age of 84. He was loved and adored. 20,000 people attended his funeral. Franklin has a crater on the moon named after him. Franklin would be one of the creators of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. In 1780, he signed the U.S. Constitution, establishing himself forever as a historical figure and winning his own personal Game of Thrones.